Penguin, I hardly know. This might be my best video yet, perhaps my magnum opus. Let's just get this over with. At this point in collecting games across various Sega platforms, I noticed I was having more fun with the Master System stuff. So I stocked up with 3 new Master System games. Not new, but new to me. Penguin Land, and Fantasy Zone The Maze, and Hang On. Anyway, you'd think a game with a name like motherfucking Penguin Land wouldn't be so hateful, but... You are Overbite the Penguin, which is the pettiest name they could have come up with. In the interests of starting less sentences with "your job is," you're tasked to get your damn egg down to the underground spaceship. You do this by pecking at the ice below you, which is sort of a Solomon's Key vibe. The only catch is there's a hovering, blinking white line that indicates the maximum distance the egg can fall, just like real life. Something about this breaks my brain, though. This is the sequel to Doki Doki Penguin Land, released in the arcade as well as for the SG-1000 and the MSX platforms. I'm guessing it's that arcade pedigree that leads to some cheap shots and vindictive enemies. The fucking polar bear, looking oddly similar to the one from Ice Climber, gloats like a chucklehead every time he manages to shove you around. Add to that the birds that drop bricks on your egg when you make the mistake of actually considering your moves, and you've got a recipe for a ruined liver. Despite that, I kinda liked it. Subby bitch vibes, I guess. I keep doing this move where I sort of do a reverse rolling out a red carpet thing by carving out wide horizontal chunks so I have more room to maneuver, but putting that much effort into things just makes it more frustrating when your shit gets scrambled. Something that's beginning to mess with my head is level editors like Penguin Land has. I feel like living in this instant data world, even if I'm collecting physical copies of this shit, it means you can't really stick with one game long enough to learn what you want to do with the level editor. You could say the same thing for Virtual Pinball, you know. I guess it's a discipline thing, but if this was the new game you got for Christmas 1987, you'd have to learn the ins and outs until you wind up with another new game months down the line. And I guess it's a lost art, but on the other hand, if we have people willing to obsess over speed runs or whatever, we could maybe have competitive Penguin Land construction stuff. Or not. Mega Man Soccer. Metroid Prime Pinball. Typing of the Dead. Mario is Missing. Street Fighter 2010. Fantasy Zone The Maze. This was called Opa Opa in Japan. The title screen sucked there too. Let me break this down. In 1979, a year before Pac-Man, Sega got to the mazes and dots things first with a game called Head On, which Nintendo of all people licensed and cloned as Head On N, and Tecmo later released for the Game Boy under the name Power Racer. In 1983, Sega released a sequel on the SG-1000 called Pac-Har, which is Indonesian for girlfriend, which doesn't matter. However, Pac-Har is a little more Pac-Man than Head On, to be honest. Unfortunately, Pac-Har is one of the more expensive SG-1000 games. In 1987, Sega mushed Fantasy Zone characters and weapons into another take on the Pac-Har formula, Fantasy Zone The Maze for the Mark III Master System and System E arcade board. Also, who cares? Get all the fucking dots, shoot some jerks, and keep running over that red thing in the center of the maze periodically. Like when Aeon Flux had to keep shooting that skyhook in episode 4. I guess I should explain the red dot thing. It'll slowly get redder and redder before it releases more enemies. Driving over it resets the reddening, but honestly most of the time I can't be bothered. The weapons are a nice touch, but you tend to get too precious with them like you do in a Fantasy Zone game. Running over a weapon actually uses cash, which racks up in tandem with your score. Too bad you can't use that trick where you buy every engine and keep all your weapons. Typically, the smaller and more cutesy the enemy, the more aggressive they are. Bonus stages are kinda cool because you're in the dark and you have to find the few stray dots hidden throughout. I'm I'm kinda used to hitting a button to accelerate, head-on style, but here you just push hard in the direction you want to speed up in. There's something appealing about these wide-open segments of the maze in the way that they eschew the typical Pac-Man-esque corridors, but it still suffers from that suffocating feeling arcade games have at home. There's always that sense that the game is meant to be played in short bursts to rack up quarters, regardless of whether or not it's the home version. I kind of want to buy a bottle of bourbon and see how this plays with two people. Anyway, when the 80s began, arcades were Sega's strong suit, but when a smushed down version of Hang On hit the Master System, sometimes as a pack-in, it couldn't outrun its far better arcade origins. Let me get this out of the way. All I'm talking about here is Hang On. I'm skipping Safari Hunt completely because I don't have an analog DAC, I don't have a CRT, my phaser is in this Goofus display case, and I don't get a boner for killing wildlife like that dickhead from Jimmy John's. Without further ado, I present to you the Hang On. One thing I think everyone agrees on, the title screen music is great. You wouldn't expect a mid-80s motorcycle racer to be some minor key, but it is, and the pensive mood is welcome. One thing I know I hate, using a control pad to shift. If things get too heated, and the game does have a pretty good sense of speed, it's very easy to downshift and ruin your momentum. If I'm being honest, I'm not sure what else there is to say. It's an early Yu Suzuki game, known for the physical motorcycle you had to actually hang on, and the first use of superscalar technology. The latter two are abandoned completely in the home version. Also, there are plenty of sequels, so the vast majority of people probably haven't ever been on the actual damn motorcycle. All in all, the other Hang On games have enough interesting things going on that the Master System version seems a little like pole position with a new coat of paint, but I'm sure someone's going to bitch me out for that. So, in conclusion, I have no idea how to end this episode, so here's some old-timey footage of sheep.